So in the documentary, 15 Days, The Real Story of America's Pandemic School Closures, you featured up that Zoom call that you just referenced. It happened on March 26, 2020. As you said, Randi Weingarten was in there. You also mentioned that Jane Fonda was in there. She's in the film. And do share with our wonderful audience what Jane Fonda said during this meeting. I mean, she pops up at this meeting, of all people.
I wasn't thinking about the archival material that we would find later on when we were actually putting all of those things together. So I made this film not knowing any of this, right? I didn't know about the Zoom call. I didn't know about what Jane Fonda said, which I'll say in a minute. I just made it to preserve their stories. In post-production, I was working with my producer, Hawk Jensen, who's a veteran producer of film documentaries. One day he called me as he was doing some research and he said, I found this Zoom call from March 2020 that you have to watch. I said, okay. And so we start watching it together and we see what Randi Weingarten is saying about elections. And she said this virus is going to fundamentally change our lives. Wow. I was like, fundamentally change our lives? March 2020? Who knew that? I was like sterilizing my groceries and not allowing my 50-year-old husband to leave the house. Like fundamentally change our lives. It's supposed to be 2 weeks to slow the spread. So that was already like an alarm bell. But then there's this person in this video. Well, actually, no. So Jane Fonda was actually in that video. She didn't say it in that video. So Jane Fonda was in that Zoom call. And as my producer and I watched that Zoom call, I said to him, is that Jane Fonda in that call? And he was like, oh, I thought she looked familiar. I was like, that's Jane Fonda. What's Jane Fonda doing in the Zoom call with the teachers unions? And it turned out it was all these huge NGOs. It was like this huge, all these squares of different NGOs, environmental justice, social justice, Jane Fonda, Randi Weingarten, and they were trying to figure out how to use the virus. Well, as we started doing some more research, I said, what else did Jane Fonda say around this time? And it turns out, right around the height of the COVID virus, Jane Fonda slipped up in a Zoom call. It was released to the public, but she said, COVID is God's gift to the left, and cackled to herself.